The fluorescent lights buzzed quietly above me as I sat in a small conference room that suddenly felt much colder than usual. After 15 years with Tech Vantage, Marjorie Thompson, the sleek and polished department head, stared across the tiny table at me, her smile tight enough to hide her satisfaction but not enough to fool me. "Kira, we're restructuring your position," she announced, her voice dripping in corporate sympathy. Beside her sat Denise from HR, wearing that same expression employees at my age had come to recognize professional regret with a hint of relief that it wasn't their turn. "The company is moving in a new direction," Denise added, sliding a manila folder toward me. Inside, I already knew what I would find: severance details, career counseling pamphlets, boxed-up condolences for loyal service, 2 weeks of pay for every year I gave them, a pat on the back for growing their flagship product's technology, and a gentle shove out the door at 55 years old. I nodded, holding the folder but not opening it. "I understand. These decisions are never easy." They both relaxed, as if they expected tears, yelling, or begging. After all, what was I now? Just another middle-aged woman being nudged out of an industry that worshipped 27-year-old execs who had never written a line of code but owned the room with a PowerPoint slide. What they didn't know was that I'd known this day was coming. A month ago, a misrouted email landed in my inbox, one that discussed eliminating my position after extracting the necessary value. Translated: take my work, remove my name, claim the credit. "We'll need your keycard, laptop, and phone before you leave Friday," Marjorie said, gaining confidence now that I didn't crumble. "My team will be notified this afternoon." My team. 6 brilliant women engineers I had personally recruited and mentored. Women who had helped build the distributed processing algorithm that powered AccountSphere, the software Tech Vantage sold to nearly half of the Fortune 500. Our creation. My invention, their future. "Of course," I replied, standing. Marjorie softened her voice, thinking kindness now mattered. "Thank you for remaining professional." I simply nodded and walked out. As I passed the executive conference room, I saw CEO Victor Lawson gesturing dramatically at a slide titled Q3 Revenue Projections, probably bragging about the algorithm he took credit for at the last industry conference. Referring to me as one of our research staff, I returned to my office, shut the door, and pulled out my personal phone. "It's happening. Friday is my last day." The reply came instantly. "Perfect. Contracts ready? Dinner tonight?" I glanced at my calendar. Today was Wednesday. Friday I would walk out of Tech Vantage forever. Monday would be something entirely different. That night I sat at a private alcove in Meridian, a restaurant classy enough that people like Victor didn't run into competitors between courses. Across from me sat Gregory Sullivan, CEO of Precision Systems, Tech Vantage's biggest rival. "They actually did it," Greg said, shaking his head after we ordered. I knew Victor was arrogant, but cutting the woman who built their core technology. "Victor never understood the algorithm," I replied.
He understood the marketing. He understood the presentations. But the architecture?
That was just tech stuff. 3 months earlier, while filing documentation, I discovered something Tech Vantage never intended me to find. They had never filed the patent. Worse, I found an internal memo planning to claim the invention as company-developed property while pushing me out before the filing. Convenient, cold, and deeply stupid. What Tech Vantage didn't know was that I had been working on major algorithm improvements on my own equipment. On my own time, documented, time-stamped, complete, and filed with a private attorney Greg recommended. The patent had been granted under my name. Greg slid a folder toward me. "Once you sign, Precision Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights, and I get to announce you as my new Chief Innovation Officer. 7-figure signing bonus, equity, royalties, public credit." "Victor's face is going to be priceless," Greg chuckled. "I'm more worried about my team," I said quietly. Greg nodded. "We already have space for all 6. Senior roles. Serious raises," I signed. Clean, absolute, and for the first time in months I breathed freely. "To new beginnings," Greg said, raising his glass. "And to owning your own value," I replied. Thursday and Friday were a blur of exit interviews and "so sorry to see you go" from coworkers who understood exactly what this was. I documented every process, every project, every detail not as kindness but as evidence. They would need to see that I left properly while their actions did not. During my final HR exit meeting, Denise reviewed paperwork with robotic detachment. You understand that all intellectual property developed during your employment is owned by Tech Vantage? Of course, I said sweetly. Anything developed during company time, with company resources. She didn't hear the emphasis, but I enjoyed saying it. After packing up my family photos and one small award for the very algorithm they tried to steal, Marjorie hovered at the doorway. These things are never personal, she said stiffly. Victor just feels the company needs to move in a fresh direction. I completely understand, I replied, calm and courteous. Business is business, she tried one more. Are you taking some time off? Actually, I start Monday, she blinked. That was fast. It's a leadership position. I'm excited. Walking out of the building for the final time, keycard gone, cardboard box in hand, I looked back once. On the top floor, executives probably planned how to divide my responsibilities among cheaper, younger developers. What they didn't realize was that in 72 hours, they'd be holding emergency crisis meetings instead. Monday dawned bright. My driver arrived at 7:30 to take me to my new corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, respect included. Greg met me with a grin. Press release went live at 7, industry newsletters already picking it up. The announcement named me the inventor. It declared that any company using the algorithm would now need to license it through Precision Systems. At 9:15, my phone buzzed. Complete chaos here, what did you do? Miguel, I smiled. Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers. It didn't take long for the fallout to hit Tech Vantage. Victor arrived to find the general counsel and CFO waiting at his door. The announcement had set off alarms across the building. Files were being pulled. Servers wheeled into conference rooms. People panicking. At 10:45, Victor emailed me directly. Kira, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me. I forwarded it to legal without a reply. By noon, our stock was climbing while Tech Vantage's plummeted. Investors hate uncertainty. And Tech Vantage now had plenty. That afternoon, I walked into my first executive briefing with Precision Systems. When I spoke, people listened. Nobody interrupted. Nobody rephrased my sentences and credited themselves. For the first time in years, I wasn't a seat filler. Meanwhile, Miguel kept me updated. They're pulling every asset with your name. Victor looks like he's about to blow. The image made me secretly grin. By Tuesday, Tech Vantage realized the truth. Without licensing rights, they had 2 choices: pay Precision Systems or rebuild the core of AccountSphere from scratch. Victor stood in front of employees and bluffed confidence. But staff were updating their LinkedIns before he finished speaking. On Wednesday afternoon, Denise from HR called me. Kira, Tech Vantage believes there may have been a misunderstanding regarding ownership. There wasn't, I said pleasantly. Anything developed on my own time remains mine. And the patent confirms that, she swallowed. Victor hoped you'd meet to discuss options. Any discussions go through Precision Systems' legal department now. Dead silence. Then a small defeated. I'll pass that along. Meanwhile, my new workplace soared. Our engineers implemented my improvements, and early tests showed a 51% performance boost. Better than I projected. Tech Vantage is interviewing new engineers, Miguel told me. Victor claims they'll rebuild in 6 months. I laughed out loud. It had taken me 3 years to perfect with intimate knowledge and a dedicated team. By Friday, Precision Systems Legal sent Tech Vantage licensing terms that were fair but painful, triple standard rates and a public statement acknowledging me as the inventor. Greg leaned back in his chair. Victor won't accept that. Then they'll rebuild. And every day it takes is another day we extend our lead. Monday morning, my new team, yes, all 6 filed into the conference room. The energy was electric. This is how development meetings should feel, Anita said. Not explaining basic concepts to execs who already decided we were replaceable. You were never replaceable, I said. You were just undervalued. That afternoon, my assistant knocked on my door. Tech Vantage has announced leadership changes. Victor Lawson is stepping down immediately. I blinked once. She continued. Marjorie and the head of legal. Also removed. A few hours later, an email arrived from Richard Donovan.
Tech Vantage's interim CEO. He congratulated me.
Admitted the previous leadership failed, and requested a meeting to fairly license the technology, acknowledging my name publicly. I forwarded it to Greg. Phase 1 complete. His reply was instant. Beautifully executed. 3 months later, I stood on the stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference delivering the keynote. Last year, I sat in the back while Victor took credit for my work. Now I was being introduced by name, my algorithm recognized as industry shaping. Afterward, young female engineers lined up to speak with me. One said, "Your story made me start documenting everything I work on in detail." "Good," I told her. "Your ideas deserve protection." Later that evening, a news alert appeared. Tech Vantage finally signed the licensing agreement, including public acknowledgement of my contribution. 1 year to the day after being told to pack up my desk, I sat in my Precision Systems office reviewing quarterly reports. Under my leadership, we had launched 3 new products, captured major market share, and forced the industry to recognize the women who built its future. Greg walked in with champagne. "Happy anniversary." We just passed Tech Vantage in market valuation for the first time in company history. I smiled, not triumphant, just quietly satisfied. That's what happens when innovation is valued. My assistant followed with an envelope, an invitation to headline Women in Technology's annual summit. Owning your intellectual value. How proper documentation changed an industry. Greg chuckled. "You've become a cautionary tale in boardrooms everywhere." I raised my glass. It was never about revenge. It was about making sure the work women create doesn't get erased. Because now, my name was permanently attached to the technology I built. Exactly where it always belonged.